Cowboy wrestling is officially back. I don't want to say that it's better than ever, but we have climbed insane amounts just with the hire of David Taylor. Now David Taylor has the opportunity to compete for World Championship number 5 against a 7-time World Championship holder himself. We have a guest, too, to help us break down some of the wrestling.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on the X at All Day State. Today, we're partially brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment matter more, especially right now when you can place a $5 bet and get started with $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Make sure you visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Meanwhile, we get started in wrestling. We get to take a little bit of a break from football because our fearless leader in Stillwater, America, David Taylor, the former Penn State Nittany Lion legend, is competing for a world title once again. The odds makers probably are not going to have David Taylor as the favorite, but I'm no expert, so let's bring on Thomas Kelly from the Low Single, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to help us break down some of the wrestling stuff before he launches his own wrestling show. He has a pretty phenomenal mic, but there was a little bit of an issue. So this is going to be your introduction to Cowboy Country to some degree. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's dive right into this David Taylor versus Abdul Rashid Sajalayev matchup.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for having me. Like I said, I'm Thomas Kelly. I run the Low Single page. This will be my first official face reveal. Some people have seen it, some people haven't, but yeah, I've been a long-time Oklahoma State fan, big into wrestling, season ticket holder, so I'm just looking forward to, the big step we're going to take under David Taylor. So
it's pretty remarkable already, just the momentum that's been able to build, of course, whenever he was able to bring in guys like Thomas Gillen and Coach Kennedy over from Penn State, and then to get some of the RTC guys. Plus, we got another massive RTC get the other day. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But as it pertains directly to David Taylor versus Sajalayev, Sajalayev is a 7-time world champion. David Taylor is a 4-time world champion. And this is a time where they're kind of meeting together with weight classes. I have seen this pegged as the match of the year by far and maybe the match of the decade. Why is it being pegged to this level, brother man, for those of us out here who are just casuals?
So David Taylor has actually spoken about this match. He's wanted this match. But in wrestling, guys want matches, but they want it the way they want it. So he wasn't going – David Taylor wasn't going up. Sajalayev wasn't coming down. So they were kind of like, because, they didn't want to give the either one like an upper hand or what they felt to be an upper hand. So we never really thought this is possible. So that's really kind of one thing. This was like a dream match, and then now it's a dream match actually coming, true. So it's very interesting. And for them both to not be at the Olympics is really mind-blowing. So, it's really took a lot for it to get to where we are right here, right now.
Speaking of Sajalayev's weight move, what do you think made him kind of make that decision, since he was so staunch at being stuck where he was previously because of the Olympic weight? What made you think, because he's going down to 92 kilograms, correct? Is that what made him decide to do that, in your opinion?
Well, that's his only option if he wants to wrestle at Worlds.
Okay.
It's all non-Olympic weights, so that would be the only one for him unless he wanted to wrestle all the way up. That was
fair enough.
That was really his only option.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Again, this is not my area of expertise. Obviously, I'm a diehard Oklahoma State fan, so I try to follow along to a little bit of everything. But correct me if I'm wrong. David Taylor is a points guy that is one of the most innovative ever at getting points. I'm sure he learned quite a bit from Cale Sanderson over there at Penn State. But nonetheless, David Taylor is a points guy, yet Sajalayev has a unique way of keeping guys from getting to his legs. And then when people do get to his legs, he typically turns it into a reversal of epic proportions. So if you're David Taylor and you're getting prepared for this, and you know that you're an offensive guy going up against somebody who's not necessarily defensive, right? I wouldn't categorize Sajalayev as defensive, but he's defensive-minded enough to put you in a precarious position. What do you think David Taylor needs to do in this match to get the W against a defensive wizard like Sajalayev?
Well, first off, let me correct. So the biggest weight that they actually can wrestle is this one for the World Championships. There is no bigger weight, so this was the only weight class that Sajalayev could go.
Okay.
There is no bigger weight class. But David Taylor's just going to have to do what he always does, and that's score points. The biggest thing is for him, he's been telling everybody that the reason he's doing this is because he wants to not only tell the team, hey, you need to go out there and score, you need to go out there and score. He wants to show them, hey, this is what I want. This is what, we need to have to get to victory. And it sets a good example. Anybody can tell somebody what to do, but when you have a guy out there doing it and you're getting to be in those practices, watch him train, see what it looks like. He's putting it all on the line. Like, he has everything to lose and nothing really to gain. Of course, a world championship, but he's already the best pound for pound in the world. No matter if he had that little fluke match against Brooks, it's fine. It was Brooks' time, but he's the best pound for pound wrestler in the world, and I feel like he's going to prove it. And Sajalayev is just another man in the way.
The Magic Man can definitely make things magical for Cowboy Country. And before we get to the RTC and some of the shakeups we have there, could you kind of give me a little rundown in your personal opinion? What do you think when you look at Penn State, Iowa, now Oklahoma State being catapulted into that third spot when it comes to returning All-Americans and returning points production? Penn State is returning the most historic point-scoring team in the history of NCAA wrestling, and they return most of those guys. So they're projected to win it, and by a points perspective, unless they have some injuries, it's probably going to be what it is. But now, with all of these moves, we have a legitimate shot to end up number 2 in the country when it's all said and done, and at least put some pressure on Penn State. Before David Taylor, we were looking at maybe creeping back into the top 5, right? It's a possibility. Now we're squarely in the top 5, and the expectation should be, okay, cool, let's go take down Iowa, and let's see if we can make things interesting for Penn State. In your opinion, do we already have enough to take down Iowa and at least make things interesting for Penn State, or are we still a little bit behind Iowa in your eyes?
I would say we're behind Penn State. I think everybody is. Everybody's trying to play a catch-up game at this point. Yeah. But I know everybody wants to say that, Iowa brought in a lot of guys, and they did. They brought in Buchanan from Oklahoma. They brought in Parco and Teamer from Arizona State. And I get it. Those guys are great. Teamer's number 1 at 157. But there's just something about them pokes and just having David Taylor and the Magic Man that just makes you really believe in this team, And there's a bunch of guys that have a lot of experience. We brought in a lot of transfers as well. And those guys, some of those guys had down years. A lot of those guys had down years, or some injuries to work through, or some weights they weren't really wanting to adjust to. So I just think with the training and everything that we have going on in Stillwater right now, I just don't see there's no way we don't finish number 2. I just honestly don't see no way we don't.
And you mentioned something off air, right? A lot of coaches at a lot of levels talk about how I will never ask you to do something that I wouldn't do or that I haven't already done, right? You've heard that 1,000 times. It is kind of crazy to see that David Taylor's actually physically going to be out there and doing it. And you mentioned off air, which I did not know, that John Smith did the same thing when he started at Oklahoma State. He was still wrestling and winning titles internationally while simultaneously being the coach. So how ironic is it that the GOAT, right, the greatest of all time, now has some competition with a Cale Sanderson, with a David Taylor, but now we're getting one of those guys that's also replicating the same thing John Smith did. Dude, and my favorite part is that he's making them earn the orange singlet. That's pretty crazy. And it's going to invoke a lot more pride, I think, in Oklahoma State wrestling and potentially catapult where it's supposed to be. I think from a historical perspective, what David Taylor's doing by the orange singlet thing is going to reinvigorate everybody to do everything they can to get as many wrestle-offs as possible to rock the orange. As much as you love Oklahoma State, as much as you love wrestling, if you're always in a black or white singlet and you never get to wrestle in the orange singlet, that does inspire you to do more, in my personal opinion. And if you have David Taylor literally on the mat training you how to pull the Magic Man himself out, dude, I'm more excited for wrestling than I am for football right? This is
Yeah.
absolutely wild. All right, dude. So we're going to switch a little bit here, gears, because we did have another massive name come to Oklahoma State, RTC, which is how Penn State got where they are, right? Is building their RTC program because of guys like Coach Kennedy and David Taylor into this new age of scoring points and scoring points and points and points and points. That is the opposite of Oklahoma State wrestling, correct? Like,
Yeah.
we've never been a points team. We've been very fundamentally sound. We've been very scrappy, but we never we don't get a lot of pins. We don't get a lot of tech falls unless your name is Dayton Fixed or Dustin Plott. It's a lot of decisions, major decisions, and
it's been a while. It's definitely been a while. When we had guys like Jordan Oliver, he wanted to go out there. He wanted to score as many as he could. That's my favorite Cowboy of all time. So shout out to J.O. But yeah, it's been a while, there is a few guys that come through and they want to score. But yeah, it's definitely been like that being the focus and that being something that is like an expectation. I just think is, I think it's very good for the team.
Well, let's talk about some of the RTC moves that we have made, including the newest one that should put the Cowboys squarely in the picture to at least compete, right? Compete for a national title. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, I have to remind everybody out here that whenever you're trying to get squared away with a lot of things in life, the monetary gains portion is pretty important. So get your monetary gains section correct today. You know what it is. It's FanDuel. That's what it is. It's America's #1 sports book for a reason. And I know the Cowboys, they hammered the over club, hasn't exactly been coming to fruition this year, but that's okay because we like the NFL. We like to see Justice Hill out there doing the daggone thing, just like we like to see Malcolm Rodriguez out there. And now Trayson Wallace is obviously going to take a much bigger role with the injuries that they have in Baltimore. So this is going to be your opportunity to capitalize on the Cowboys through the NFL, get a big return. When you get that tingling sensation, the feeling in your loins that somebody's about to break a big play or do something crazy to reverse the game, you can now check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets from. You can get started today with 200 bones back and bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Get that $200 back and bonus bets guaranteed today with your first $5 bet. Make sure that you visit FanDuel.com. Again, that is FanDuel.com. Go there today to get started with your monetary gains. Hi, buddy. The RTC program. This is the training regiment that's going to be teaching, the fourth graders, fifth graders, eighth graders, 12th graders, how to do it the Oklahoma State way, the David Taylor way. Whenever I think this is kind of confusing for a decent amount of people, which is why I'm asking you. What is the differentiation between the coaches that are being hired and for the team and the coaches that are hired for RTC? And is there some interchangeability there? Are some of the guys that are, conducting the RTC, are they also going to be at O State practices, helping with the guys? How does that kind of work?
Yeah, so pretty much the youth is actually going to be taking over like that Cowboy Wrestling Club. That kind of was the RTC prior with the old staff.
Yep.
And now they're moving towards like going officially under the Cowboy RTC. You can kind of notice from like the rebranding of the page, the different logo, just kind of different stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So even when asked about it, if David's asked about it in front of the media and stuff like that, if they ask like, hey, how's Cowboy Wrestling? He's like the youth club. Like he's very much trying to make sure, that it's differentiated. So it's going to be definitely the Cowboy Wrestling Club is going to be the youth. And then the senior level stuff is going to be the Cowboy RTC. Now the coaches are very interchangeable. They can work both sides. Even when Kill first went to Penn State, he actually did the practices for the RTC as well. And I assume that's probably what's going to be happening with Coach David and the rest, especially with like Zahid coming in. David was like a main guy that he wrestled against to try to make world teams and try to make Olympics. So this is definitely like him trying to up his level as well. So I would assume one of the main reasons would be to work with David for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about what Zahid brings to the RTC program. Obviously, he's very familiar with David Taylor. What do you think he provides that may be a little bit different from some of the other guys that we've already brought? Dude, Bravo Young?
Yeah, Roman. He's good. He's great.
That dude, like
he broke a lot of our hearts.
I don't understand How is
But
David
we'll take it.
Taylor building this Avengers squad? Like, how is he doing it? I'm sure he doesn't have endless amounts of money, so he's got to be sales pitching these dudes to come to Stillwater and make this move. And I'll be honest with you, I could be crazy. I've been called worse, but it almost feels like he's putting something together to be here for a while, right? That's the biggest difficulty when you go outside of the alumni base. I think we all could agree that everybody that rocks the orange and black would have been over the moon if Coleman Scott was named the dude, right? Everybody assumed that's what it was, that he was kind of the coach in waiting. And everybody would have been happy with that. Obviously, Chad Weiberg swings for the fences, gets David Taylor, but even then, we're not exactly at the highest threshold of NIL, right, in the Big 12 or in the country. And I don't know that we've been laser focused per se on wrestling. So, like, what vision is he selling these dudes to come to Stillwater? Like, in droves, dude. He's getting all of the top wrestlers and trainers and coaches in the country and bringing them all to Stillwater. Like, I don't get it, dude. I'm obviously so pumped. But how is he doing this? How?
I think it's David Taylor. I mean, when he, like if you have an opportunity to work with him, and like say before, if you ever wanted to work with him, but you necessarily didn't want to go train at Penn State, or you didn't want to do that, you have an opportunity now. And I think a lot of it's also just different situations. Like Roman in particular, his girlfriend actually plays for the Kansas City, the women's team out there. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly their name, but the women's soccer team out there. So this is a lot closer than being out there, in Penn State. And then for Zahid, I mean, I'm very interested to see why he wanted to come, because everybody thought that was going to be the finals of the best of three at the World Team Trials. Everybody thought that it was going to be him and David, but it didn't come down like that. Brooks ended up beating Zahid, and then Brooks goes on to beat David. So it's kind of like you would assume that he's like, hey, man, I want to be there for the Olympics in LA. Zahid's also from LA, or from California, so he wants to be a part of that Olympics. That is very, very important to him. And how else do you beat Aaron Brooks than the guy who literally trained Aaron Brooks to beat him, essentially? So, I just believe that, guys want to come here because this is an opportunity that they weren't afforded before. And why would you not, if you're going to be anywhere for wrestling, why would you not want to be in Stillwater? I mean, come on. Penn State's cool. They've been great the last 15 years, but we're the greatest of all time, and it's about time we remind people.
From a technical perspective, how do you think, in general, or David Taylor specifically, do you get a team to find a way to score extra points, right? Is it just all about a constant action, or is there some strategic ways? Because the downside, if you score a bunch of points and you push the guy off, you give up a point, right? We see Dayton Fix do it all the time. Take down, give up, take down, give up, take down, give up. And it seems like a dangerous game that you could potentially play, but obviously David Taylor has this thing down to a science. So what is it that makes his way of scoring points better than everybody else's not named Cale Sanderson?
I think it's just like watching him do it. When it's very easy for someone to tell you how to do something, but when someone's like, "Hey, do this," and it's like, "Well, how did you do that?" Well, he can break it down for you. He can show you. He can hit it on you in practice so many times, that you start to, you learn it. You pick up on it. Now when you go out there, because if you can defend something against David Taylor in practice, even though it's just practice, he's not going full, but if you can defend against something that David Taylor's done against practice, I just believe you can defend anybody in the world, especially in college. But yeah, I just think that it's just him just like showing them, like literally going out and doing this. He said that last time he was on the mat, he didn't go out and score points. So he didn't want his team looking at him like, in the back of their mind, like, well, he's telling us to do this, but last time we seen him, he didn't really do that. So this is all like, everybody's taking this as a selfish thing, but it's literally, this is for the team. He wants to show them, hey, this is how we're going to win. And this is how I want it done, but let me show you, not just tell you how it's done. They're going through the practices, they're going through the trainings just like him. And I just believe this is going to all work towards scoring more points, and that will eventually score us more points at the tournament and get back to winning the championship.
I have one more question for you before we get to segment 3 here. And I've been kind of curious. Why? It's got to be strategic. Why does David Taylor bring in so many 165 pounders? Like, you can only have one dude at 165 wrestling. So why bring in 5 guys at the same weight? I mean, obviously we can have some 157 manipulation, 174 manipulation. I get that, but I don't know. In your opinion, why is he strategically pinpointed? I'm going to get a bunch of 165 guys that can be somewhat maneuverable in their weights, as opposed to just getting guys strategically by weight. What do you think the objective is there?
So actually, Fish and Hamidi were actually committed before he came, so that was kind of not really like his choice, but it was very well known that Hamidi wanted to go up, so he was going to go 74. So even though on paper it's like, oh, he was last 165, Oklahoma State's mind was pretty much like, hey, he wants to be 74. Plots at 84, we want him at 74. That works for us. And then Fish, I think that might have been the 65 choice they were bringing in at the time, honestly.
Right.
Can't be 100%, but I'm assuming that was probably the decision for that, or if he was still in his mind maybe going to do 57. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming that was kind of the move. And then I can't remember exactly if Cam came once David was there or not, but I feel like it was once David was there.
It was after.
Yeah. Either way, Cam Amin wanted to come to Oklahoma State before, but he had family with Michigan ties, so he went to Michigan. But like it was a tough choice between Oklahoma State. So in my heart, I believe he was always probably going to come here anyways. So again, with Fish having that opportunity to redshirt, I think that also created some opportunities where they were going to mess around with the lineup.
So you mentioned him potentially Fish redshirting instead of going down to 157. We know Braden Thompson is going to redshirt as well. So let's talk about that and some of the potential lineup guys, because David Taylor just recently said himself just a few days ago that they're doing a lot of competition for the orange singlets. They're not giving it because you were here last year or this and that and the other. Obviously, the only exception probably is Dustin Plott, right? But outside of Dustin Plott and Wyatt Hendrickson, everybody else is going to have to earn their stripes. And I think even to some degree, Wyatt Henderson will as well. But Wyatt Henderson is so driven to wrestle for David Taylor, and he's talked about how he gets on the mat with David Taylor. And David Taylor's good enough whenever you can throw around with the big boys and still be able to cause problems. But let's talk about a potential lineup and some of the wrestle-offs that we could see at some point in time. But before we do that, real quickly, ladies and gentlemen, I do have to, again, kind of reach back and remind everybody, occasionally there's multiple ways to make money. So if FanDuel's not tripping your trigger at the moment, it's either more than or less than. Yes, the more than or less than game that we all love, right? Because you don't have to stress so much. And again, we've got a lot of Cowboys that are doing the daggone thing in the NFL, which makes this even more fun. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everyone. You just need to pick more than or less than on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash dollars. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money with PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. If you want to play PrizePicks along some of the fun names like Sean O'Malley or rapper Joe Budden, you can now find the community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in PrizePicks community each and every week. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. You just put the 5 down and make it rain. PrizePicks only offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value to your lineups. Guys, is this going to be another game where Chuba Hubbard busts the 9,500-yard mark? Is this going to be another opportunity for Tyreek Hill to receive more than 97.5 yards receiving? Is this going to be a time where we get to see Justice Hill and Tyler Wallace combine to keep the Ravens as the best offense in the National Football League? Regardless of who you're rooting for, you can make some money with PrizePicks today. Download the app and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get the $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word. Get the $50 back when you place $5 down. It is highly addictive if you have the right guys and you win at the right times. Make it the moolah. Get Prize Picks today. It's another way to capitalize on your monetary gains. All right, bud. We know, or we at least assume, that Caleb Fish is going to transfer. We know redshirt. Braden Thompson is definitely going to, kind of redshirt as well. We know Wyatt Hendrickson's pretty safe where he's at. We also know that Dustin Plott's pretty safe where he's at. I think 125-pounder Troy Spradley's probably going to be the dude, right? But then again, you have that log jam of Fish and Cam Amin and Dean Hamidi, and then you have the 157. What do you think this is going to shake out? Is Troy Spradley going to remain the 125 guy? Do we have a mix-up after 125? What are you thinking, brother man?
I was actually discussing this with a good friend of mine, KP, and kind of how I'm just looking at it, just kind of we discussed it, just kind of going over it. This is kind of how it looks. I know there are some weights that are, I'll say, kind of are up to grab. The wrestle-offs will kind of – seems like David's going to keep those a little bit tighter to chest, and he could experiment with some guys. Guys can do, like I believe it's 4 – they can wrestle in 4 events and still redshirt. So, so they'll be using those as well. That may also, change some things up. But right now, I'm pretty much looking at it, like you said, Troy Spradley's I'm assuming that's 25. He was our guy last year.
Right.
I honestly believe he is the best 25-pounder in the country. I think he's going to win it all this year. Yeah, there's a hot take for you. Yeah.
Okay.
But Spradley, they said he's been having a really good offseason, so I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be Cale Hughes at 33. I know he missed weight. I know some people were a little worried about that, but I think he got his mind right. I just think everything's better now. I think he's managing everything better, and I'm hoping it's he'll wrestle well with the weight. So I guess that's kind of another thing. But there was kind of a few guys they were looking at there. And then at 41, it's probably going to be taking Jamison again. He had a good last year. He's probably, I would say he's definitely going to get that 41 spot again. At 49, I think we're going to see Carter Young coming off of his red shirt. That's fun. He's great.
It is. The Stillwater High guy who almost messed up and went to Northwestern.
Well, he actually has a connection. He did do a little bit of training with Northwestern where he wrestled his best performances we have seen of him. And the guy that was working with him is actually Kennedy, which is David Taylor's the assistant coach there, which is his brother.
Jimmy Kennedy?
Yeah, so that's great for us. So that they're back together and working. So that's going to be good.
All right.
At 57, I think it's going to be Teague Travis. I think that's probably why Fish is going to redshirt. Teague Travis is good. He's solid.
Okay.
I think he's going to build upon the year he had last year. So I'm definitely looking for him to be there at 57. And then this is kind of where things go good for us, I believe, really well. And I got 65. I got Cam Amin. I think he has something to prove. He's been a placer before. Last year didn't go real well for him. Isaac Olenek actually sent him home last year. So we're looking for that, for him to have a better this year in the tournament. So and then 74 is going to be Dean. Like I said, he wanted to go up to 74, so I believe that's his spot, which is good. That's going to be a tough weight class, but I'm confident to see him there. And then, of course, Dustin Plott, 84. He's not running from Carter. Even though Strachey's coming to 84, he doesn't care. He's staying there. And then 97 is interesting. This is kind of like a toss-up right now. Everybody doesn't know really what's going on. If it's going to be Cody Merrill, which is he's our freshman coming from DC.
Big time, like what the equivalent of a 5-star in wrestling.
Oh yeah. And he's DC guy, so we that sweetens the pot. So he's worked the Chrome Mirror quite a bit. And then him and Serber, of course. Serber's obviously a senior, but I did hear that he might have had a surgery in the off season or during the season. Even last year he was hurt, so I don't know if that's going well or what the timetable is on any of that. I haven't heard anything about that, so that's kind of that maybe where the toss-up is. So that one's kind of an open spot. We're not sure what's going to happen there. And then, of course, heavyweight, we would just assume it's going to be Wyatt Hendrickson. I mean, he does have a red shirt, but like David said, he's going to wrestle the best guys. So if that's what coach says, then I believe that's what's going to happen. So yeah, that's my lineup. We'll see how it works. We'll see how it pans out. But
with that lineup, you feel pretty secure in us being able to score some points and make a run at this thing. Now, as it pertains to the Big 12, do we need to pay attention to Iowa State and Mizzou again? Is there somebody outside of those two that could creep up and cause us problems in the Big 12 race?
I think Iowa State, they're the one to knock off at this point. We lost a guy to go over there, Christian Carroll, our previous number one recruit.
Yeah.
So they've got some log jams at some weights too, though. So they've got some interesting situations as well. They have younger Bastida, which he's the heavyweight. That's going to be interesting to see him versus Wyatt. So I think Iowa State is probably, like I said, they're the reigning Big 12 champs. So I mean, they're the ones to take down. Even though I think we're on top of them, but we have to prove it. So
right,
I would say Iowa State definitely. Mizzou, they have a few guys. They lost a few guys as well.
Okay.
So Keegan O'Toole, he's going up. He's wrestling 74 this year, so that's going to be interesting as well. So, yeah, but I would definitely say Iowa State's probably the one. There's a few other teams. I mean, I'm looking forward to wrestling some teams that we haven't wrestled. I think we even go to Little Rock this year, so that's fun. That's an Oklahoma State coach out there. Pat Smith got his school out there in Arkansas as well. So I'm looking forward to definitely, getting a little bit more branched out and wrestling some more Cowboy schools.
All right, brother. So I know you got season tickets, so you're going to be rocking and rolling like every true-blooded, orange-loving American in Gallagher Iba Arena, the house that Ed Gallagher and Henry Iba built. But let me ask you, whenever you look at some of the traveling games or duels, do you have a road trip that you'd like to go to? We go to Oregon State, right? We go to OU, but nobody wants to go to Norman. So yeah, we're in Ames, Iowa, and like you said, we're at Little Rock. But I don't know, dude. Ames, Iowa, on the road could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would. If it was me, I'd probably choose the Little Rock one. Like I said, that's another Oklahoma State team, or like a coach's Oklahoma State connection. So, and also they've got some fun guys out there. They got Nasir Bailey's out there, and then Jordan Williams. He left our team. He's out there now too.
Oh.
I assume he'll probably be there 49, 57-ish, somewhere around there. So yeah, I would actually like to go out there and see that one. If it wasn't that one, I mean, at Iowa's cool, but I just don't know if I could be around that many people that like that team. You know what I mean? I'm a very, very proud Oklahoma State fan, so I don't mix well with like banter's fun, but man, those Iowa guys, they get a little rambunctious. So, and then as far as Norman, no, I mean, the only other thing I really seen on the schedule that looked really good was the Cliff Keen in Vegas. That should be fun. Some good teams are going to be there. We're there like at the beginning of December, so I might think about going out there for that one.
Well, I think that is awesome. I might run up to Ames, Iowa, buddy. That would be pretty cool. And the Coliseum has been on my bucket list, right?
Yes.
So, and I would like to see how Iowa State, handles wrestling at the Coliseum like we handle wrestling in Gallagher Iba, because there was multiple times last season where we had 10, 11,000 in Gallagher for wrestling. I don't know if Iowa State does that. I would assume they probably do.
Yeah, Iowa State, that would be a fun one to be at for sure, especially with we could possibly see Carroll versus Merrill, which, that was kind of like a situation we were wondering how we were going to work out in the future anyways, with them both being not big enough for heavyweight, but a little bit too big for 97, but we could possibly see that happen, so
that would be awesome. Christian Carroll, come get you some, buddy.
Yeah.
And it would be even better if our new freshman beat our other old Blue Star blue chip freshman. That would be that would be pretty cool.
For sure.
Well, brother man, I greatly appreciate your time. I obviously am extremely excited about wrestling this season. I'm so glad that you're so dialed in and tapped into not Oklahoma State, but clearly this is something that you do on a daily basis. So you pay attention to the national recruiting scene and the transfers and all that fun jazz. So I greatly appreciate your time, and let the fine folks out here know when you're launching your Bad Mama Jamma show and how the fine folks out here can track you down, get a hold of you, and see your work.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for having me. First of all, as soon as you said you wanted to have me on, I was excited. I kind of debated, like, man, should I do it before I start the show? But I was like, hey, let's just do it. Let's just have fun. I want to talk wrestling. I'm always excited to. You can find me on X or on YouTube, both at the low single, just like below, all just no spaces, of course. And then on Instagram, it's low_single 34, just like the championships we have. But of course, my show, it's going to be coming out November 1st. I've been very excited. I wanted to drop it sooner, but I wanted to have like enough content. And I wanted to just not have just put something out to put it out. I wanted to have something special. I wanted to have something exciting. This is a whole new era. I thought I was taking over an era where it was going to be like the Coleman Scott era, but this whole era for me is like, it's not just a new era for me and for Cowboy Wrestling. It's a new era for everything in Stillwater. So it's definitely exciting.
I love it, dude. Well, if I can help with anything in any way, anytime, feel free to give me a holler.
Sir.
Because I think that we need more voices out here, especially for more sports, right? Oklahoma State, I would say, has a proud tradition of the fan base getting behind other things than just football, which is somewhat rare. And I want to be able to continue to cultivate that. In my opinion, that's the only way we grow the Oklahoma State brand is if more people across the country get some familiarization with Oklahoma State. And it doesn't just have to be about football. Because, dude, wrestling, if you go look at some of the Penn State shows, it matters, right? And we're upsetting the apple cart so much that State College is definitely paying attention every week in Stillwater, America, which means this is potentially building something between us and Penn State where it's going to be a knockdown drag out every year for the next 5 to 8 years.
Yeah. They did not want to lose Coach David Taylor. I'll tell you that. They did not want to lose him.
Well, and then it keeps getting worse because he keeps bringing more guys in. Oh, and I've heard from multiple people that Kyle Dake is somebody that is really close with Taylor as well.
He is very, very close. And Coach made some comments about he doesn't just want anybody in the RTC. He wants the right guys. And he said when they become available, they'll bring them in. So it could be just, a waiting game, which we can wait.
I love it, dude. He's assembling the Avengers. It's kind of a cheat code. It's kind of cool to have a cheat code in Stillwater, America again. All right, Mr. Thomas Kelly, I greatly appreciate it, brother, man. Feel free, if you ever want to come on this show, right, do the daggone thing, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, everybody go check out Thomas's show whenever he gets it kicked off. It'll be the best source that you're going to be able to get for wrestling content on a very consistent basis. I greatly appreciate it, dude, and I'm glad that you're so daggone tied in and passionate. We're definitely going to run into each other at some point in time this season, whether it be at Ames, Iowa, or in Gallagher Iva Arena.
For sure.
And I will make sure, I don't know if you do you drink beer?
Yes, I do.
Dude, beer on me. I got you, buddy.
Yes, sir. We're in there.
All right, brother. I greatly appreciate it. You the man. We'll have to do this again, dude. This was way too much fun. And hopefully this wrestling season is so fun that you have so much content that you just don't have enough opportunities to spread the love.
Hey, I always have room for you. Don't worry about it.
All right, my guy. I appreciate you. Everybody say hello to the dude who's going to give you the wrestling news, and also say goodbye to Thomas Kelly as he gives you the go pokes, as he should, as every orange-loving, true-blooded American. That's all we're going to have for this one right here. As you can tell, I am very pumped up for this wrestling season. Football's been a little bit of a, train wreck. Basketball could give us something. I think Steve Lutz has a little bit of that old school Eddie Sutton in him, but fill up Gallagher Arena for David Taylor and this wrestling squad as we do. Take a run at Penn State to at least make things interesting. All righty, y'all. You know I love you. As always, God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Like it if you like the daggone thing. Dislike if you don't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast and people out there. You're the bricks, the bread, the butter, the fountain, the fondue, the funny stuff, the funky stuff, all of it. I appreciate you. Do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave a review. That is all, folks, a.k.a. later, my taters.